A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime.
America joins Israel to prevent Iran getting a nuclear bomb.
It is the most profound existential moment for the Islamic Republic of Iran that has been in power for 46 years.
Hundreds already dead, thousands more injured.
یعنی اون شب خدا به هیچ مادری نشونه. فقط از مسئولین تقاضا میکنن جلوی خونریزی رو بگیرن.
Iran hits back at Israel.
When the rocket hit the house, what I see is a flame coming into the safe room.
Events move fast. Iran fires missiles at a US base in Qatar. Then Donald Trump announces a ceasefire.
For the Iranian leadership, the only thing more dangerous than suffering from Israeli bombs is surrendering to American terms.
But the ceasefire is already under strain.
We basically have 2 countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
I'd be surprised if we emerge from this crisis with some type of fundamentally stable, new and better Middle East.
Almost 2 weeks ago, Israel surprised Iran with a major attack.
Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a targeted military operation to roll back the Iranian threat to Israel's very survival.
Israel's opening salvo in this war was really shock and awe. I think the Iranians probably had some contingency plans of what could happen. This was worse than the worst-case scenarios that they had in mind.
It's all part of Israel's determination to stop Iran getting a nuclear bomb.
Israel's attacks were focused on degrading, if not eliminating, Iran's nuclear program.
Top of the strategic target list, 3 sites the Israelis say are linked to its bid to make a nuclear weapon.
They hit at Iran's nuclear facilities with the aim of taking out as much as they can quickly, and have targeted Iran's missile facilities, radar systems, and defense systems.
The Israeli Defense Forces also killed top nuclear scientists and senior military commanders from Iran's Revolutionary Guard.
Taking out the top brass of the Revolutionary Guard's leadership was truly shocking to the Iranian system. So Iran had its Pearl Harbor moment on June 13th.
On the streets of Tehran, the consequences of Israel's military campaign were clear.
High-rises were targeted. The floor was completely taken out, even though the building was completely intact.
This is the voice of a Canadian-Iranian filmmaker called Gilare, who was in Tehran during that first night of attacks. There are no BBC journalists in Iran right now, so she's sending me voice notes.
I couldn't believe that, oh my God, it actually happened. This is real.
She's been given permission to film on our behalf by a news agency authorized by the Iranian regime. She went to a neighborhood in Tehran that was hit by Israel.
اون شب من خوابیده بودم بابا داروهایی که میخورم مال اعصابم.
Gilare met Fatima Nejad and her neighbor. They say drones had been heard overhead all day.
چیزی که اومد این شهاب سنگ میگه هوام تاریک بود دیگه میگه با سرعت اومد اینجا صدای انفجار بسیار مهیبی.
Fatima's 16-year-old daughter Zahra and 19-year-old son Emir Hussein were outside.
امیر حسینم دیدم صداش از تو کوچه میاد. گفتم چی شده؟ گفت مامان جون کمکم کن کمک.
Both her children were injured. Her daughter seriously.
این کف پای زهرا رو من اینجوری جمع کردم. استخون کلا با ترکش رفته بود. این همه خونه های زهرا و امیر حسین. ما تو بیمارستانی.
Iran says on that first night more than 300 people were injured and 78 were killed.
اون ناله هاشون یادمه. یعنی اون شب خدا به هیچ مادری نشونه. فقط از مسئولین تقاضا میکنن جلوی این خونریزی رو بگیرن.
So, how did we get here? For decades, Iran's religious leaders have said they want to destroy Israel.
Right from the start, revolutionary ideology dictated that Israel was this sort of cancerous tumor that needed to be, extracted.
We are against Israel, and we will never help Israel.
The emphatic direction of travel has been towards this view of Israel as a state that has no right to exist.
Key to Iran's anti-Israel position is the creation of what it calls the axis of resistance. Armed groups surrounding Israel, including Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza.
In the last decades, they actually built an unbelievable infrastructure of terror all around Israel. They've built, their leaders took pride of building 6 armies around Israel. Hezbollah in Lebanon, once their most praised attack dog, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, the Houthis in Yemen, their militias in Syria and in Iraq. So they've surrounded Israel with a ring of fire.
Israel's believed to have had nuclear weapons since the 1960s, but it's never publicly admitted it. It's also never signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Iran has. But in 2002, intelligence from inside the country sparked alarm the regime was trying to get a bomb of its own.
There was this sort of, quote, revelation that, Iran was developing a sort of an underground secret program to develop a nuclear weapon.
To prevent that happening, the UN demanded Iran give up all uranium enrichment, even for civilian use. When it refused, financial sanctions were stepped up, crippling its economy. The regime was eventually forced to negotiate, and in 2015, it looked like a deal had finally been done. Some enrichment would be allowed, but strictly monitored.
Because of this deal, the international community will be able to verify that the Islamic Republic of Iran will not develop a nuclear weapon.
The deal was known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or JCPOA.
So the 2015 nuclear agreement boils down really to a very simple bargain. On the Iranian side, nuclear restrictions and transparency measures. In return, on the Western side, for economic incentives in the form of sanctions relief.
But the Israelis were never convinced.
The Iranians, the regime is the brilliant people. They know how to fool the West. They know how to basically just buy time to promote their nuclear military plan.
During Donald Trump's first term, he pulled America out of the nuclear deal.
My fellow Americans, today I want to update the world on our efforts to prevent Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon.
He believed the lifting of economic sanctions had helped Iran fund its proxies.
The Iranian regime is the leading state sponsor of terror. It exports dangerous missiles, fuels conflicts across the Middle East, and supports terrorist proxies and militias.
With America out, the deal was effectively dead.
JCPOA was unfortunately destroyed by the President Trump and as well as criminal Netanyahu, And there is no doubt that the diplomacy is based on good faith to ensure our rights, peaceful using of the nuclear, nuclear energy.
I don't think we should underestimate the Iranians' intentions, together with the ability they built for so many years. For 20 years, they've been fooling the international community, lying and continuing to build their nuclear capabilities.
Hours after Israel's first attack, Iran hit back with a barrage of ballistic missiles. Cities throughout Israel were targeted. The coastal city of Tel Aviv suffered extensive damage.
So my apartment is, I think, right over there, on the 8th floor. The main impact was about a floor and a half above my apartment.
Erez Kadush and his wife, Anastasia, were at home when the air raid sirens sounded.
Can't go out.
They headed to their safe room.
We all decided that it's better to stay out of the roads, just in case, not to be stuck in the middle of a rocket barrage. My wife looked at me and she was like, something is wrong. And then she hugged me. And then all of a sudden we feel the entire house is shaking. And when the rocket hit the house, I was looking to my left, and what I see is a flame coming into the safe room. And then all of a sudden the power went down. It was dark. We started smelling a lot of smoke.
Water pipes had been ruptured.
And then I see that water is starting to come into the safe room. We will have to make our way somehow there. And you know, at this moment you just pray that the building is not going to collapse or anything is not going to happen.
Erez and Anastasia were trapped for 45 minutes before being rescued. 3 Israelis died that night. So after decades of tension with Iran, why has Israel chosen now to go to war?
One of the reasons that Israel didn't take the risk of going after Iran's nuclear program in the past 20 years of a standoff over Iran's nuclear activities was precisely because it was always worried, not necessarily of Iranian power itself, but of Iran's proxies.
But after the deadly October 7th attacks, all that changed. For more than a year and a half, Israel has repeatedly pounded Gaza in its efforts to destroy Hamas.
Hamas suffered serious hits. It hasn't been eliminated yet. We have to accomplish that also, but for sure they don't have the same abilities as they had in the past.
Israel also attacked Hezbollah's military leaders and their infrastructure in Lebanon.
So by the time you get to 2025, now you have basically almost all of the different arms of terror, I would say, that Iran has used against Israel to construct this ring of fire around Israel have all dropped.
The weakening of Hamas and Hezbollah opened a window of opportunity for Israel to attack Iran without fear of reprisal from its proxies. But there was still one more thing Israel needed.
Israel, at that point, I think they were just waiting for Trump. I think they believed, I'm not going to say I think, I know they told us, and me and a couple small other group of reporters, that they were waiting for Trump to give them the green light or to participate with them.
Trump began his second term as president, promising not to lead America into any more foreign wars.
My proudest legacy will be that of a peacemaker and unifier. That's what I want to be, a peacemaker and a unifier.
I think Israel initially thought that the Trump administration was a gift from heaven because Trump would be on board with Israel pursuing a military solution to the nuclear standoff with Iran, and was highly disappointed initially that President Trump seemed to be much more interested in deal-making with Iran than striking it militarily.
In April, President Trump gave the Iranians 60 days to agree a new nuclear deal. After initially refusing to negotiate, Iran took part in a series of meetings.
These negotiations were hitting a wall very quickly, partly because of the inexperience on the US side and partly because of the inflexibility on the Iranian side.
The US position hardened. Now Trump would accept no enrichment of uranium, even for civilian use.
There are two ways Iran can be handled, militarily or you make a deal. I would prefer to make a deal because I'm not looking to hurt Iran.
We are the responsible state. Iran always demonstrates and shows his intention and desire to diplomacy. Diplomacy would be very important alternative to resolve all disputes, not by using of our arm attack.
The Iranians, honestly, they never meant business. They never meant to close some type of zero enrichment deal that Trump was interested to achieve. All they wanted is to get and win more time.
Trump said his 60-day deadline expired on the 12th of June.
The Iranians needed the deal, but not at any cost, not under any circumstances. They needed a face-saving way out, and dismantling their nuclear program entirely would not provide them with a face-saving way out.
Trump hinted he knew what was coming.
How imminent is an Israeli strike on Iran?
Well, I don't want to say imminent, but it looks like it's something that could very well happen. Look, it's very simple. Not complicated. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
The day the deadline expired, the UN nuclear watchdog said Iran was in breach of its obligations because of its undeclared nuclear material and activities. And it made this plea.
The Secretary General has made it very clear that there must not be any military escalation in the region, which has already seen too much death and destruction in recent years.
Israel wasn't listening.
We're very close and intimate with the relationship with our American allies, and we updated them before our pilots were in the air. It started as an Israeli operation, but we definitely updated them.
Within days of its first attack on Iran, Benjamin Netanyahu declared Israel had aerial superiority.
אנחנו שולטים בשמי טהרן, אנחנו מכים בעוצמה אדירה במשטר האייתולות.
فضای غبار آلوده استادیوم.
Iranian state TV was hit during a live broadcast.
So when Iran State TV was hit, that was quite symbolic. You're basically putting out the voice of the country, the voice of the government. It's such a symbol in this country. And it almost says that we are here to shut you down. We're here to quieten you down.
Iran continued to retaliate, firing more missiles at Israel. Most were destroyed, but one hit a hospital in Beersheba, injuring around 70 people. There was one target Israel couldn't destroy. Seen here in satellite images, Fordo is a heavily fortified uranium enrichment plant buried around 80 meters beneath the mountain range, 60 miles south of Tehran.
Everybody was aware to the fact for the last 15 or 17 years that Purdue could serve as the kind of the high enrichment facility of the Iranians. Iran already enriched something like 450 kilos of uranium to the level of 60% and above, which means that this stockpile is enough for about 9 bombs or 10 bombs more It should take something like a few weeks, if Purdue is operational, in order to enrich this stockpile of uranium to the level of a military grade, which is 93%.
But for Israel, there was a problem. It didn't have a bomb powerful enough to penetrate Fordo's defenses.
Israel simply lacks both the munitions, the ordnance. Turns out the only country that could do it is the United States. With B-2 bombers and these special so-called bunker-busting bombs.
Back in the States, President Trump was keeping the world guessing about whether he'd use those B-2 bombers to help Israel.
He's been very clear. Iran went for 60 days when he gave them that 60-day warning without coming to the table. On day 61, Israel took action against Iran. And as I just told you from the president directly, he will make a decision within 2 weeks.
I would say that he's a reluctant warrior in the sense of he'll try to minimize the risk. So what are the unforeseen consequences if we do this? What's likely to go wrong? What's likely to go right? And then he makes a very cold and calculating decision. He's not naive about the things that could go wrong. He's quite realistic.
Within 48 hours, an operation called Midnight Hammer began.
Moments ago, President Donald Trump putting out there has been an attack inside Iran.
The Pentagon said U.S. forces dropped 14 bunker-buster bombs on targets at Fordo and Natanz, while Tomahawk cruise missiles hit the Isfahan nuclear facility.
Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated.
While American generals were still assessing the damage seen here on satellite images, Benjamin Netanyahu claimed the world was now a safer place.
Congratulations, President Trump. Your bold decision to target Iran's nuclear facilities with the awesome and righteous might of the United States will change history.
It is a shame that the one guy like President Trump make a lot of problem not only for the Iranian nations, but also for all of the world. Regarding the aggressive action of the American regime against my country, there is no doubt that this action, this criminal act, is the flagrant violation of the United Nations Charter.
In Israel, one Briton was injured by an Iranian missile attack, and 63 were evacuated by the RAF. Prime Minister Keir Starmer called for calm.
I want to reassure the British public that we're doing everything we can to stabilise the situation, to de-escalate the situation, and to get to a negotiated outcome. But I'm very clear in my own mind that Iran cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapon.
In the immediate aftermath, the Iranians said America's attack would have everlasting consequences. Iranian diplomats said there could be a path to negotiation, but only if the bombing stopped.
Regarding the level of our reaction or retaliation, everything now is under consideration. But there is no doubt that the diplomacy is the first priority of us, subject to the ceasefire to stop the armed attack against my country.
I expect there are those around the Ayatollah, possibly the Ayatollah himself, who are saying to themselves, we may have to contemplate negotiations between American officials and Iranian officials. I think that's a legitimate possibility.
But its military commanders had given a very different message. They promised retribution.
Gambler Trump, you can start this war, but we will be the ones who end it.
Yesterday, Iran launched what it called Operation Annunciation of Victory, missile attacks on a US base in Qatar. Trump called the attack weak and thanked Iran for issuing a warning beforehand. No one was hurt.
You know, I would just point out that the Iranian leadership going back 45 years has always made threats that They're going to retaliate, they're going to punish, and often, and in most cases, they do not. You know, the United States has advanced military capability. A lot of it is the Middle East right now, when Iran's military capabilities have been vastly degraded.
For 12 days, bombs and missiles rained down on Iran.
People are exhausted. It's been 12 days. Last night, the bombings got pretty intense. Our house was shaking. We left Tehran for the first time.
Iran says more than 600 people have been killed, 107 in just the last 24 hours. Israel's taken casualties too. It says 28 people have been killed.
It's hard because you keep thinking about everything that you had, all the sentimental stuff. I'm 38 years old, so I have 38 years of memories that I carried me from apartment to apartment, and suddenly everything is gone.
Trump has claimed success in his aim to destroy Iran's nuclear program. The reality may yet be more complicated.
Even if a regime that survives this war is a shadow of itself, in that scenario, it can still reconstitute its nuclear program.
In the days before the US attack, satellite images show trucks positioned near the entrance to the Fordo nuclear facility. It's not yet known what they were doing there, nor is it clear how much of Iran's enriched uranium survives.
So there is a scenario in which Iran would try to remove some of the fissile material that has not been affected so far by Israeli or US attacks and move them to a secret facility and then try to break out and go for the nuclear weapon.
If Iran is allowed to, one way or another, come up with nuclear weapons, several other countries, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Turkey, Egypt, might all decide they need nuclear weapons of their own. A Middle East in which you have multiple fingers on multiple buttons or triggers with nuclear weapons, I think is unimaginably dangerous.
Donald Trump, late last night, said Israel and Iran have agreed a complete and total ceasefire in what he's calling the 12-day war. He's since accused both sides of breaking it.
We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
Finding a path to lasting peace may be harder for President Trump than he'd hoped.